I'm Ben Morris, I'm Creative Director at ILM London, and today I've come to represent Last Jedi, on which I was the overall visual effects supervisor. We were talking mainly about the visual effects and the digital work that was done by ILM and a whole bunch of third-party collaborators. We spoke a little bit about Snoke, we spoke about some spaceships, we spoke about the Fathiers. We also spoke a little bit about the Mega Destroyer and the destruction that happens to that, and also a little bit about how we build the spaceship models and the processes we go through to break those up when we blow them up. ILM had all 4 studios working on the project. It was hubbed out of London. San Francisco were involved, and we had Vancouver, and we also had Singapore. And we then had, I think it was around 10 additional companies providing other shot work and services to it. So it was spread over all the time zones of the world. London's grown. When I first started, it was 2 or 3 of us in a serviced office off Regent Street. We're now nearly 600 people, and that's 4 years. We're gonna stay in London. We want to be here. The entire team is European and people from the UK. It's a fantastic place to work. ILM's grown. It's grown from a company that was centered in San Francisco to now being a global company, and that's just a wonderful thing. London's where I live. I'm not moving anywhere. Ryan's the director who shoots on film, enjoys that. We shot on film and digital, but he's also wanting the story to be grounded in reality. And so when we create visual effects, they've got to cut seamlessly with the real world. They've got to look real. That aspect of it was the key for me. The artistry was always there. It's just keeping that consistency. I loved making the entire thing, and Ryan is such a clever, thoughtful, methodical filmmaker that it was just a pleasure working with him. There are moments that I think are just great. They might not be the biggest, they might not be the loudest, the brightest. I think Holdo's death is a particularly poignant moment, and Ryan was incredibly brave. When I read the sequence in the script the first time, I immediately just thought, it's going to be explosions everywhere, it's going to be sound blasting, your eardrums are going to go, ticked all the boxes in the complexity. And then he turned around and he said, actually, let's just completely turn that on its head. I want it to happen in almost total silence, and it's got to be serene. And so for us, we didn't have the support of a soundtrack at that point, so we just had to make the images as beautiful as we could. And that really catapults the film into its third act, is that moment of sacrifice for Holdo. So I think that's great, and the first time I watched it with an audience at the premiere, it was just, people didn't know what was happening. I was chatting with one of the sound designers only a couple of days ago, and he said, interestingly, the audience almost add the soundtrack at that point, because so many people are gasping and asking, sort of through sounds, they're asking, what is going on? This is unlike anything we've seen before. We knew it had to be something striking. We didn't quite know whether it would involve colour, whether it wouldn't involve colour. We went back to the real world, which is what we almost always do, and we started to look at high energy accelerators and atomic photography, so cloud chamber photography, where particles will hit each other and shatter and break into multiple trajectories. So we looked at that. We also remembered burning magnesium ribbon in our chemistry classes, and that incredible bright light that must imply incredible intensity. And in doing that, one of our concept designers came up with a few of these things in one concept, and Ryan, he literally just hit it, and it was just like this searing light tearing through these ships, and it's again in silence. And the other thing, with the searing light, inevitably you'd close down your aperture because it would flare the frame completely. And what that actually left us was a complete sort of a tonal inversion almost. There's so much particulate in the air that instead of having white Star Destroyers over a black space background, you end up with black silhouetted Star Destroyers over a white background. And so that inversion worked incredibly well with the sound effect at the same time. So it didn't happen overnight. It took many tries to get the right look.